Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupini avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swamini Tapaharini. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum. We are still going through the introductory portion. So we saw how Bhagavan Sri Krishna introduced Arjuna to the doctrine of निष्काम कर्म. इसकी वजह से वो अपना जो मॉरल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जो था सब उभर के वो युद्ध कर सके. This is what he was trying to tell him. So Arjuna was also normally a dharmika, but then साधारण रूप से धार्मिक व्यक्ति जो जीवन जी रहे हैं उससे वो संतुष्ट नहीं थे. That was already, if you do your duty, you earn, you do other things and you carry on, वो एक है. लेकिन अर्जुना wanted something even more, क्योंकि उनके सामने ऐसे कोई उपस्थित हुआ, ऐसे धर्म संकट, where he felt that he can no longer be just a normal dharmika and discharge his duties and be happy with it. क्योंकि he had to kill his dear and near ones कि आचार्य सामने खड़े होके युद्ध कर रहे हैं. So actually, once someone comes in a battlefield, he is an enemy. आचार्य भी जो आचार्य के क्यों लड़ने के लिए आए? Even a normal logic would have convinced Arjuna that if someone comes to fight in a battle, you have to fight. But then suddenly he felt that ऐसे क्या हुआ, मेरा सब कुटुंब है, मेरे relatives है, all those people I have to destroy. ये क्या फायदा है? So he was not just happy with the mere dharmika life. He wanted a higher sanction if he has to participate in the war. युद्ध लड़ने के लिए उनके और कुछ उच्च आदर्श प्राप्त होना था. इसीलिए the निष्काम कर्म, where you work without desire, so it is, unless he is really made to understand, क्योंकि ये करते करते श्री कृष्ण ने बहुत सुंदर एक डिवोशनल फिलॉसफी उन्होंने खड़ा किए हैं. इतना तक नहीं है, विभिन्न योग के माध्यम में भी अंतिम लक्ष्य में कैसे पहुंच सकता है वो भी उन्होंने बताया. So it was not only Arjuna was being asked to fight, how Arjuna, by participating in this war with a particular attitude, can still reach the highest goal of life. यही उन्होंने उनके समझाने के लिए प्रयास कर रहे थे. Because unless a theory and a philosophy which are convincing us to make someone understand क्यों है कैसे है, दोनों चीज पता करना था अर्जुन का. So this how and why of a desireless action have to be really made clear. क्योंकि मैं बिना कोई उद्देश्य क्यों काम करूंगा? Normally one cannot think of an action without any motive. क्योंकि आप काम करें तो किस मोटिव लेके करते हैं? How can one work without a motive? In what sense Sri Krishna was saying, and how does he become completely desireless? All that will be explained by Sri Krishna through the entire Gita. So that is how we are finally going to land up. Because you see, normally when we understand motives are for personal benefits. किसी ना किसी वक्त खुद के लिए. It's generally whenever we talk of motive and whenever you take up any action, largely it is based on what is my benefit, how am I going to benefit from this work, from this action or this participation. वही एंगल साधारण सी होता है. किसी के ऐसे कोई काम करना है, इसमें मोटिव क्या है? दूसरों को भलाई. So in that sense it is motiveless. Not it is absolutely without any direction at all. Motiveless क्या, जैसे वैसे काम करना, वही कृष्ण बता रहे हैं. But do it in such a way that there is no personal angle involved in it. So I think probably that is what he is going to tell him in various ways. Slowly we will try to understand what is the meaning. He says, Sri Krishna is making to understand, don't think that you are an entirely independent entity. All jivas are sparks from the fire that is Vasudeva. So Vasudeva, or the Supreme Lord, is the source of everything. So there's nothing apart from him, or he is the substratum or the basis or the foundation of everything. So not only jivas, all the other categories of whatever that exists is all part of this Vasudeva. That is why it says Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Vasudeva is everything. And then obviously the question arises, how one can be uh, how could that be everything and at the same time himself also? Then does not have the Lord any separate entity or identity for himself? He just to be understood only as the all or the complete. No, you see, that he says, the Gita, he clearly says there are two types of Prakriti, the powers of manifestation, which are, you see, there are non-different yet distinct from him. कैसे है? Just as, if you think of a power and the power holder, Shakti and the Shaktimat. Power holder and Shakti, in one sense, they are not different from the person who is wielding them. जो उनके हाथ में वो क्षमता है, वो उसी से जो निकल रही है, सबको उनकी अधीन है. But yet, the power that emanates is in a sense different from him. When it manifests ultimately, that goes as a separate entity, although it is part and parcel of the person who is a wielder. जो क्षमता, शक्ति, पावर जो wield करते हैं, उनकी जो हाथ से जो शक्ति निकल रही है, they are in one sense same as the power holder or the Lord. Same time, they are also different because from the effect you see that when the power manifests, there is a differentiation. So that's why he says the Prakriti that changes and not himself. When the power that goes out, does the wielder of the power is affected in any way? Does he change? No. It is the Prakriti or the power of manifestation that changes. So the living and non-being, that is how the Lord manifests the living and non-being things without himself undergoing any change. So there is I am the earth, water, fire, air, mind, intellect, everything. That is Prakriti. Different from this, O Mahabahu, is that higher Prakriti in the form of individual soul, for whose salvation and growth this world cycle is maintained. A Prithvi ka jo whatever is that existing is only for that higher form of Prakriti, which is the Jiva himself. So all the beings have these two. So Bhagavan is the origin of the entire universe and also its destroyer. Pralay unhone karte hain और सृष्टि भी उन्होंने करते हैं. So again, that is, you will say, Gatir Bharta, Prabhu Sakshi, Nivasa, Saranam Surut, Prabhu Pralayasthanam, Nidanam, Bijam Abhyam. So everything is, he is the originator, he is the sustainer, he is the destroyer also. But then there is nothing else. Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. Mai Sarvamidam Protam Sutre Maniganaiva. There is nothing beyond me. And everything is like a strung, the pearls in a what you call ornament. They're all strung together. So the whole world is. So the ultimate thing, the real thing that sustains the pearls is that twine or the sutra or the thing that goes through all the pearls. Without that, they will all fall apart. So they're all being held together with the Lord himself. So that is how he is sustaining the whole universe, he is keeping it, he is ensuring that they're all stable. And then, so he says he is being the everything, the Lord is present everything in the unmanifest form. जो सृष्टि की पहले जो था वहां से ही सब आया. From the Lord himself everything was manifested. So he is in an avyakta state, he is already there. But then he says, why? So that is why he says, all beings are in me, because no sab wahi Bhagwan se avyakta usi avastha se srishti hua. Lekin I am not in the means I may अलग अलग टुकड़ा टुकड़ा करके मेरा आप दिखाई नहीं देगा. In every individual being, I am not present in the sense that I am not perceived as a very distinct, separate, small pieces or parts or something like that. But if you understand the origin, किससे सब आया, कैसे सृष्टि हुआ, from that you understand everything is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord Himself. उन्होंने ही सब किया. He is the, as I said, Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidanam Bijamavayam. So He is the originator, He is the sustainer, and finally from Him only everything goes as Pralaya. So he says, uh, the although he is the sustainer of everything, yet he is you cannot perceive the Lord directly in any of the manifestations. See, आपने आप हर फिलासफी में ही कहते हैं, चैतन्य कहते हैं, ब्रह्म कहते हैं, आत्मन कहते हैं. उसी तरह हम सब भगवान से सृष्टि हुआ, वही अर्थ में हम लोग भगवान की अंश है. There is little of the divine in all of us because we are all created by the Lord Himself. But apparently, directly if you perceive, we cannot see. Unless I am evolved, मेरे ऐसी आध्यात्मिक उन्नति हो जाए, मेरा ऐसी कोई अनुभूतियां आ जाए, then I'll be able to say, oh, then what I will say, I will not exactly see X as X. I will see just how the Lord is manifest in X in a subtle way, that मेरा हमेशा पता चलेगा. So normally in our day-to-day experience, we don't see the prevalence or the manifestation of the Lord in any form. But if you go deeper with your own spiritual evolution only, it's possible to see. And then, so at the end of all cycle, they attain Prakriti, and the beginning of next cycle again is send them forth. That's how at the Pralaya everything goes back to Prakriti, and the next cycle again they all come out. So presiding over my Prakriti, and again in send forth this entire aggregate completely under the dominance of Prakriti. So do not bind me, I remain unattached like one unconcerned. So इतना इसीलिए कई बार हम लोग देखते हैं ना, कई बार ये प्रश्न भी जग जाता है, ऐसे क्यों प्रलय क्यों, ऐसे सुनामी क्यों, इतने लोग मरते हैं क्यों. सिर्फ भगवान की ऐसे ही चलता रहता है. So for him it is really, it's just like, supposing is something you always can compare. Supposing for us, supposing we lose a 100 rupee note, and for 3 days we may not be able to sleep. But if he's a billionaire, he may not even count if 100 rupee notes are thrown here and there, because for him, they don't come into count at all. Like that, a person who is completely the creator, who is the preserver and the destroyer, for him, something happening here, there, they're all aspects of Prakriti. किसी वक्त वही चलता रहेगा, ये साइकिल चलता रहेगा. Again there will be new creation, again there will be sustenance, again there will be destruction. But he is not bothered, because he remains as a witness. Supposing you see in a screen all the various scenes are displayed. Maybe it's a terrible war movie. मान लीजिए ऐसे कोई सिनेमा देख रहे हैं, I don't know, thousands and thousands of people are constantly killed by both parties. But does the screen in any way feel that? Does it feel affected? Does it cry? Does it weep? No. It just as a witness. Everything passes over that. It only remains as a stationary witness in a small way. So the Lord is just witnessing whatever that is happening. So because we are personally attached to X, Y, or Z, ये भी आप देखिए ना. See, someone who is very close to us, maybe a very elderly person also, we are so much affected. So many days we can't get over it. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes for a lifetime people cannot forget it. But supposing today somewhere in Africa, some 500 people died in some earthquake or something. 1 or 2 days at the best we may be thinking. Then we are busy with other things. Some other things comes, Modi ji comes, or Rahul ji comes, or something else comes. So the life goes on. So whatever where we feel attached, where we feel there is a big connection, that we are tied to that seems to affect us. But if there is a person who is always ready as a witness, just watching everything happening, because it's a huge cycle constantly going on. Just as there's a huge giant wheel you have seen, in other countries, even bigger ones they make, huge ones. So the one the top comes down, again goes up, again comes down. In the same way, the Srishti Sthiti Pralaya is something like a big wheel that it keeps on. That's why it's Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshe Junatishti Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantarudadi Maya. He's hitting the hearts of the individuals and makes them whirl round as if in a wheel. Exactly that is happening. So if you are bothered by any individual thing, not only that, see the fallacy of it, whatever happens, how much can we do to change it? कुछ भी नहीं, जो होना तो हो ही गया. So we can keep on weeping it for years, or we can understand, yes, this is the nature of life, and get along with it. When suddenly I may also go away, someone else also might go away. If that idea dawns, then we no longer feel bothered so much that way. So that's why he says this is a cosmic nature as divine. It constantly keeps on happening, the cycle of Srishti Sthiti Pralaya. So, but the as a person, as an intelligent observer, as a Sakshi, the Bhagavan who is the originator, who himself makes all this happen, is not really affected at all. And then, while this type of an impersonal attitude like nature of the Lord is being projected, at the same time, is also a very personal, loving being, is beneficent. He can be easily approached through service and surrender. So he is same to all. No one is not partial to anybody. And then because uh, those who really worship him or cling to him in adoration, they dwell in him and he in them. So it's only is closer, is in the devotees who are constantly worshipping him, or they have surrendered themselves completely. Is there actually taken the Gita itself? There are various slokas supporting these views. I am not quoting all the slokas right now, but they are all there. So he is neither far off nor he is a person isolated from men and world. He is part and parcel of everything. He is nearest of the nearest, and at the same time is present in the hearts of all. Uh, he says, I am the Mata Dhata Pitamaha Vedyam Pavitra Munkar Rik Sami Ujire Vacha. He is everything. He is the Mata, Pita, everything. And another way he says, Prabhu Bharta, Gatir Bharta, Prabhu Shakshi Nivasa Saranam Suvrit. How is everything? This idea also comes. So, on one hand, the idea of creation, etc., where the Lord is absolutely a non-participating witness kind of an attitude. Same time, He is the closest to the devotees. He is the father, mother, protector, everything, and then He is also the goal, the sustainer, the Lord, the witness, the refuge, everything. So He is both the being and becoming in that sense. So in whatever way man adores, that way I bless him. Ye yata mam prabhadyante tam sateva bhajamaham mam vartvan vartante manushya partha sarvasah. So whatever way they worship, I accept. So in that sense, he is all comprehensive. People may worship in various forms, in this form, that form. That's why this is sloka Swamiji used in the Parliament of Religions. You may call by various names, but ultimately they all, Krishna is just only for the sake of, understanding. You can, in the place of Krishna, you can put as a Supreme Lord, you can put anything. Ultimately, whatever way, wherever there are sincere spiritual seekers, wherever they worship, whatever they do, all go to the ultimate one truth, or the ultimate place of surrender. So that's what we can understand. And then he clearly says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yo Me Bhaktya Prechati. Even if you give fruit, flower, leaf, or even water, if you give it with devotion, I accept it and I bless that person. And again he says, Yat karoshi yadashnasi yad josi dadasi yat tavasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, even the yaga, yajna, dana, everything, all your actions, completely you offer unto me. And that is how See, slowly, he is coming to the idea, you may do anything. But if you do it completely as an offering to the Lord, there won't be any binding. It will not bind you, or it will not bring you any attachment, ashakti, or bondage. That's why he says, you offer everything. Even if to fight, you are fighting. But you say, I am fighting as an instrument of the Lord. I am neither interested in the gain nor in the loss, but I am in the circumstances I have to fight. I am fighting, but I am offering everything to the Lord. So, and then with your mind endowed with yoga, and if you are, see again and again, we'll see in another introduction also, entire Gita, everywhere these two ideas are again and again emphasized, both Tyaga and Yoga. So Sri Ramakrishna also says, again we'll see separately what Sri Ramakrishna says about Yoga and Gita, maybe another day, where he says, what is Gita? Tagi, 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 tagi. भगवान के लिए सब कुछ त्यागना, renounce everything for the sake of Lord. That is Gita. In a very beautiful single sentence, he has summed up the whole of Gita. So again, the Tyaga and Yoga, these are the things again is emphasized. So not only that, he says, apiche sudurachara bhaktya mam ananya bhag sadhaneva samantavya क्षिप्रम भवति धर्मात्मा शांतिम समृद्धति कौन्तेय प्रतिजाने ही नमे भक्त प्रणश्यति. He says even a most wicked person, durachar, Obi, if he thinks of me, if devotion, bhaktya mam ananya bhag, without an unwavering devotion, if he approaches me, kshipram bhavati dharmatma. In a trice, in a second, he becomes a dharmatma and attains the supreme peace. He says that is why, remember that, no, O son of Kunti, proclaim that Name Bhakta Pranashati, my devotee never perishes. It's the supreme assurance. So that's why he says, in whichever way you want to understand. But ultimately, if you do this, you will find that if you dedicate all your actions to me, and if you completely surrender and do that, only supreme good will accrue to you and nothing else, and you need not fear. So not only that, it is he also shows Arjuna through the Vishwarupa Darshana is not only, first of all, he said about his action as a creator, as Prakriti, etc., how he is a witness, how the Prakriti creates, how people participate, and then we saw the devotional aspect, how is the loving Lord who can be approached even with a very, very ordinary thing like a patra, pushpa, phala, etc. And then he also, through this Vishwarupa Darshana, he showed his cosmic dimension, where he is not only a creator and protector, he is also a destroyer. With so many arms and ammunition and astra shastra leke aise aaya, and it's like Divi Surya Sahasreshu Bhavet Yugavaduttita. As if, effulgence of 1,000 suns were to flash in the sky simultaneously. हजार सूरज की जो रोशनी आकाश में जो चमकता था, how can anyone see it? Will be totally blinding. Such was his brilliance. And then, they saw Arjuna, the son of Pandu, saw this entire universe. Everything is united in the body of the God. कहाँ से भीष्म जुड़ रहे हैं, कर्ण जुड़ रहे हैं, दुर्योधन जुड़ रहे हैं, the entire, he cannot, wherever it was so huge and unbelievably mighty, wherever he saw, he could clearly see the entire creation is part of the Lord himself. And then, he said, in thy body, he says, I see the devas, the hosts of various beings, Brahma, ruler, is seated on lotus feet, all the heavenly sages and serpents. I see thee with many hands, bellies, mouths, and ears, possessing infinite forms in every side. O Lord of the universe, thou the universal form, however, neither the end nor, see, neither the beginning, nor adhyam, nor anta, neither the end nor the middle nor the beginning. It's all encompassing, such a mighty form. And then, seeing thee touching the sky, blazing of many hues, with open mouth and fiery eyes, I am frightened. Then he says, please withdraw this. and show me that usual, that compassionate form. At one point of time, he also used to call him as Shakha, as a friend. But suddenly he saw what reality the Lord was. Although he was with them, although he was part of this thing, was participating in the Mahabharata, he was driving his chariot every day. He used to, first get down and then make Arjuna get down like a car driver. That's how he treated him. But then suddenly he saw the, Bhishma, Drona, everybody, they were all rushing into his mouth. Everybody was, he was just crushing them, everything to death. So he said, what am I to fight? Niyata Purameva. Mayeva Niyata Pura. I have completely destroyed everything. Nimitra Matram Bhavasabhachachi. You be just only a nimitta. Whether you want or not. These are all the results that are going to happen. Mayeva Niyata Puram. I have already destroyed everything. Take it for granted. All these have been preset, determined, done. You just be a willing participant so that you discharge your duties. You get glory by being part of this. That you did your duty, that you are a very successful warrior, everything. You can all that. Then he says, the Kala, the destroyer of people, proceeding to destroy them. Even without you, all these warriors in every direction shall cease to be. So whether you are there or not, it hardly matters. Because he is the Prabhu, he is the Sakshi, he is the destroyer, he is the creator, everything. So, you are only just a mere instrument. So slowly, the cosmic form opened a new dimension in Arjuna's vision. He saw that, what am I trying to protest? What am I trying to say? Because my fighting or not fighting is not going to matter at all. Till now, he was thinking himself like an individual cell in a body. If the individual cell in the body thinks that, no, no, I have to grow, I have to become big, I have to grow separately, then that becomes a cancerous cell, and that leads to the death and destruction of the body itself. So as long as all these cells are together, each perform their duty in a united fashion, keeping the overall well-being of the body in view, then each cell is contributing beautifully. But the moment if a cell thinks, no, 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 I should not do this, I should only do this, and tries to separate itself and grow differently, that becomes a cancerous cell, and that has to be discarded, or that may even lead to the destruction of the body itself. So he has to, he feels that it till now he has been, his view was, what is good for me, what is spiritual for me, why should I kill anybody? I can as well not kill anyone, and give up all arms and ammunition, and I can take to begging, I can become a mendicant or whatever it is. But that was a very small, limited view, like the cell trying to grow independently. Because this was, as I said in the beginning itself, this was a dharma yuddha between two forces. On one side was dharma, the other side was adharma. The person who is leading the side of the dharma, if he is not going to fight, then adharma will prevail. So what is the thing that will be set for the future generation? How the world order will be disturbed totally if adharma prevails. Everyone saw how Duryodhana was behaving. So it was necessary, in the interest of the society, in a larger interest, he had to adjust himself, just as an individual cell has to adjust itself and grow in conformity, or in unison with the other cells. So he understood that he has he was just a cell in the mighty being of the Lord himself. He has an apportioned duty, and if he does it with perfection, not only for his sake, not even for the community or the country, but for the sake of the Lord, for whom everyone ultimately belongs, and realizes that within the hearts of all is the Lord himself is making them run around and do everything. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe junatishthati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantraharudani maya. Just like a machine that's being operated, the machine which is operated by the operator, does it have any choice? Whether the operator can run it fast, run it slow, can keep it for some time, not run it also. Everything is from the point of view of the operator. So once he had, so Swami always had that idea, Ame yantra tumi yantri. I am the machine, you are the operator. Jamun chalao, temni choli. The way you operate, I will go. I have no individual choice. So if once he realized that, he saw that I have to perform because this is what I am. This is what I am supposed to do. If I do it properly and without any idea of any idea of ego or resignation to the supreme will or the will of the Bhagavan, then that is the way for peace or that is the way for salvation. So, in the light of this enlightened and enlarged worldview, so the work itself gains a new sanction and a new significance. As long as Arjuna was viewing work, duty, whatever it is, fighting, which is also work, which is also a duty, in a very limited individualistic sense. Now, in a larger context, सिर्फ मेरा मेरा नहीं है, मेरा कुछ कर्तव्य है, मैं एक समाज के अंदर हूँ, एक देश के अंदर हूँ, इसकी वजह से मेरा कुछ करना है. Once the actually neither for the नाम यश के लिए नहीं है और नॉट इवन फॉर एनी वर्ल्डली कॉज, किसी की भलाई करने के लिए, पांडव सेना के जीत दिलाने के लिए, नॉट इवन दैट. देयर इज अ हायर पर्पस टू बी फ्रीड, that is to be for the spiritual development of the individual, to be freed from the hold of the body and realize one's kinship or unity with the ultimate divine or the Bhagavan. So actually ये युद्ध की माध्यम में Jiva say beginning said it's a spark of that great divine fire. So identification of the body has effaced or removed this idea. Arjuna has completely forgotten is a part of the divine spark. In him also is the divine or the Bhagavan. So if he does work with a true sense, that will help him regain his own spiritual eminence, his own spiritual identity, and that is how he'll be freed from action. Otherwise, मान लीजिए वो युद्ध करे नहीं करे, कैन ही एवर से दैट ही विल नॉट बी अफेक्टेड बाय व्हाट इज हैपनिंग. मान लीजिए युद्ध नहीं कर रहा है, लेकिन हर रोज कहाँ बैठ बैठ के खबर लेता रहता था. वुड हैव बीन, अरे आज कितने लोग मारे, क्या हुआ, किसका ये हुआ, आज क्या भीष्म क्या कर रहे हैं, करने क्या रहे, मेरा अभिमन्यु क्या कर रहा है, और व्हाट इज युधिष्ठिर डूइंग. So it is not possible. Quite often, we think that if we don't do certain things, we are free and we are not getting attached. No, the attachment will not go away by simply not doing something. Unless we understand a superior spiritual dimension of our personality, that and that alone will remove the ignorance, which is making us forget that we are part of the divine or that we have a superior nature or an entity or whatever it is. So how does grace operate? Grace descends on him who is completely ready to discharge his works without any self-centered motive. मैं सब कुछ भगवान के लिए कर रहा हूँ. That's why he said, "यत करो श्री ऐसे करो." If you do like that, whatever you do, if you do it, or he himself said that you become a nimitta. I am only a nimitta. I am an instrument. Everything is done by him. So if you do that, then only it is possible to the complete resignation to the will of the Lord. That alone will bring you enlightenment or a higher level of evolution. So anyway, any work cannot be simply accepted on the face of it. मान लीजिए आप युद्ध कर रहे हैं, युद्ध बाहर देखने के लिए ऐसे घोर युद्ध का था. It's a very terrible war. But then any work has a whatever we do always has, maybe largely in one sense it may be good, but in a small sense there will be any other effect also. Just as a fire is always accompanied by smoke, is a very often quoted example in the Vedanta and other literature. So apparently whatever one might do, it might look very good, but then there might also be a little adverse effect somewhere or other. आप कुछ कर रहे हैं, then you can always anything that you do. So but then how you decide, that is why the right attitude towards work is very necessary. Otherwise, if we think that what I am doing is going to benefit somebody, is good for somebody, किसी को हित के लिए कर रहे, maybe, but one should always have a higher orientation towards whatever one do, and along with that, if you perform, such a work will not lead to attachment. Otherwise, मान लीजिए आप किसी को भलाई करना चाहते हैं, if you do not orient yourself in a higher sense, वो कुछ बोल देगा, और बाद में अरे उसका इतना किया, वो ऐसे क्यों किया मेरे साथ. All those things keep on occurring because behind that work of doing good, it was not absolutely unselfish. There was some small little amount of selfishness involved, namely वो मेरा तारीफ करेगा, मेरा कोई प्रतिदान कभी करना है तो करेगा. When I ask for any help or something, he will respond. Something like that. It may not be very obvious even in the beginning. पहले तक पता भी नहीं है, लेकिन उसके पीछे ऐसा कुछ है. That is why many of the so-called people who do philanthropy through this club, that club, etc., ultimately they don't end up doing anything good, because behind that is always there's a either a some तो बहुत ही स्पष्ट रूप से ही कुछ चाहते हैं. That is the worst part of it. But quite often there is something hidden also. We might not even know when we see that, oh, I am trying to do something good to somebody, but behind that, if anything is there, that's why one has to be extremely careful. One has to do this viveka and vichara and find out, and then it's possible. So there are, all works carry, as I said, just as any fire carries some smoke, there can always be something which is not palatable or not so good. किसी को ऐसी कोई करने में कुछ तो उसकी दूसरी इफेक्ट भी जरूर रहेगा रहेगा. So generally, that's why he says in our tradition, the work in the society was divided through the four types of people. Although people are criticizing so much about this caste, etc., when it came to existence, what was the original idea? Because people have to work. सबको तो करना है. कैसे करें? समाज में कैसे विभक्त करें? How that is to be divided in the society? So they said there are four types. All these are all according to जो भगवान की जो उनकी इच्छा से उन्होंने ऐसे सृष्टि किया. This has nothing to do with community based on birth or this or that. See, who are the type of brahmanas? They were the introvert people. They were type of reflective, and they were deeply self-restrained and with a huge amount of sattva in them. They were largely sattvic. So they alone became the brahmanas, or those who are capable of टीचिंग अदर्स. क्यों? अपना संपत्ति, अपना कोई पैसा बनाना, to have wealth and this and that enjoyment, their least inclination toward that. So I always used to say the earlier division of caste was entirely based on the amount of त्यागा one can do. जो जितना त्याग कर सकते हैं उसको इतना उच्चा रखा गया. ब्राह्मण की क्या, कौन ब्राह्मण था? इन देयर लाइफ वाज नथिंग बट कंप्लीट त्यागा. कुछ भी नहीं चाहते थे समाज से. दे वर द टीचर्स, दे वर द शिक्षक. क्यों? पढ़ाते थे. बच्चे लोग भी साथ ही रहते थे. द स्टूडेंट्स आल्सो यूज्ड टू स्टे विद देम and share the same simple food. What is there was to dispense, to spread knowledge, to keep the lamp of knowledge burning all the time. अपना कुछ नहीं है, अपना कुछ भी नहीं चाहते थे. So they exhibited the highest quality of tyaga. So they were at the head of the society. They were even above kings, above everybody else. Even that's why some of the great Raj Pandits were so much revered and worshipped by the Rajas themselves. So then came the Kshatriyas. They were powerful. क्या रजस था, लेकिन they were ready to die, defend the borders, protect everybody. So they became the second in. Then the Vaishyas, they had intelligence. They could bring goods. विभिन्न जगह से जो जरूरत था ले आ पाते थे. They could bring, they could trade, they would gain. Because slowly, the element of tyaga was getting reduced and reduced. They were interested in making profit. They were interested in making money for themselves. At the same time, they also used to bring. And then finally came the Shudras, the last category, where they were largely capable of only physical labor. इतना सोच समझदार नहीं थे. They were always capable of doing physical work. मैं कुछ काम करो, मेरा पैसा दे दो. So directly, exchange. मैं काम ले लो, मेरा पैसा दे दो. So that kind of. So that was the really depending upon the element of tyaga or the proportion of the sattva raja tamo in their lives. This was the kind of division of the society that was happening in those days. So that is why the works in the samaj or the society were divided accordingly amongst the various people in proportion to the element of these qualities, as well as how established they were in the idea of tyaga. So that is why these works, which were giving according to the capacities or the elements of these gunas in them, they were called swadharma. So whether it was good or bad, for example, no, if a policeman has to catch the thief, beat them or handcuff them and take them, would you call them it is a sinful act? No. If a person, ordinary person, for whom it is not this swadharma, if you and I go and beat somebody and try to handcuff somebody, that is not our swadharma, that is a sin. But if a policeman, that is his swadharma, to protect the society, to maintain the law and order, if he arrests a thief or if he does something, that is in nature which is a swadharma. So there is nothing good or bad about it. This is what he is supposed to do and he is doing. So every work will have, as I said, will have two elements. Some may be favorable and unfavorable. But then as long as they are within the scope of your swadharma, one has to be, they are, you have to do it, they will be socially acceptable and in line with our nature, depending upon our stage of evolution. So one who contemplates and accepts the divine worldview and the destiny as present in the Gita, the performance of such swadharma with detachment and as an offering to the divine is a means for spiritual evolution. That's what the Gita centrally teaches. You accept your swadharma and you contemplate on the divine, and then you perform all your acts with the sense of detachment and as offering to the divine, and that is how slowly you evolve with spiritual. This is one clear line that is taken in the Bhagavad Gita. So the offering the fruits of our work, so even the people born of sinful nature, etc., they can all be redeemed. And then when he's able to resign his sense of agency, he realizes the whole as a divine. I am just a spark, the entire whole is the divine. And then is the divine himself is functioning through all the individual jivas, through the individual centers of consciousness. And then that is how the whole divine law operates in this world. So that's why, as we said, that this is the there is a scope for everybody to evolve according to Gita. No one is completely condemned as a sinner or as a person who is not capable of spiritual evolution. That's why he says, Apiche Sudaracharo Bhaktiyama Mananya Bhakti. When a very sinful person also, if he turns towards spirituality, if he accepts the Lord, and with deep devotion, if he turns a new leaf in his life, immediately he becomes a person of sattvic qualities or a sadhu. So this is the this is the worship by through one swadharma. It's possible to attain the complete perfection in life. What you have to do is, that's why there are many in Gita also. It talks about King Janaka. He was he was ruling a kingdom. Obviously, he had to do many other things, but he was so rooted in his swadharma and so established in the view of his nature in relation to whom he is in this world, what are his duties, how he is performing. So he is always quoted as a person who did his duty with supreme sense of detachment and always remained at a very high state of evolution. So that's why Gita clearly says, Swadharme nidanam sreyaha paradharmo bhayabha. It's better to die even doing one's swadharma rather than resorting to paradharma, or that which is not really your nature or your what is your according to your inclination. So therefore he says one should not give up one's duty born of nature, although there may be problems or difficulties. See, quite often why Arjuna, why he didn't want to perform his duty, because it was attended with difficulties. He suddenly saw, supposing there was a totally unknown people had come to fight, he would immediately jumped into the war. The moment he saw there was some difficulty in the form of his own dear and near ones, so that attachment completely gave him a different idea about participation, and he wanted to withdraw and do something else. But then so that is not the way. Anything, any work, whenever you do, it will always have, there are different dimensions. There will be, majority might be good, but still there may be something which is unfavorable. So the one whose work whatever he does are without any attachment. If he is unattached, whose mind is under control, who is without desires, and such a person, he attains by renunciation a supreme state of freedom from action. That's why, ultimately, that's the goal. Everybody can attain that. So, for all the rest, excepting those who are fully established that way, for everyone else, there's a duty performed. That's why he says, Yastu Atmanati Revasyat, Atmanattasya Manavaha, Atmanyeva Santushtaha, Tasya Karyam na Vidyati. If a person is completely established in the Atman, for him his delight, for his joy, his participation, everything is only related to Atman. For such a person, the sasya karyam na vidyate. For him, there is no enjoined duty. But for all others, one have to go through this grind. One has to really evolve. One has to struggle. Because, this, unless one understands what's my nature, what I'm supposed to do, merely trying to, so, if you if you even physically restrain yourself and mentally you keep performing, you are not free from action. He says, Karmendriyani samyame yaste manasasmaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mityacharasya uchite. Gita also says. So you cannot say that I am not doing any action, I am sitting quiet, but you are constantly thinking about something else. So that will not absolve you of the effects of karma. So either if you are a person who is spiritually so evolved that you don't have any sense of participation, no sense of agency, you are completely free from all that, then such a person may not do anything. But in fact, somewhere Sri Krishna says, for me, Trishu Lokeshu Kinchanan, Nanavaptam Avaptam, in the three worlds, I have nothing to do, nothing to expect, nothing to look for. Yet I work continuously without break, because if I stop working, the whole world will be, it will be in total chaos and confusion. So in that sense, even those who have realized, they also have a duty. But then their duty is not for their own welfare, but it will be completely for the sake of Loka Sangra. For example, Sri Ramakrishna, even after being immersed in Samadhi for 8 months, when he came down from that, he did not say, no, I will not meet people, talk to me, anything like that. He was constantly, in his room, constantly there used to be people coming and spiritual discussions and enlightening them, showing them the path for spiritual regeneration. That work he was doing. So, even the advanced souls, realized souls, normally they also do. Why? Because that is for the sake of Loka Sangraha. Very, very rare of the rares are completely free from any such of action. Because as long as the body is there, even though you are breathing, that's also an action. The digestion, that's an action. So as long as you live in this world, even for a day, no one can be totally free from any kind of work or activity. Something or other will keep happening. But then, how are you going to direct them? How are you going to participate? What's your attitude? These are the things that determine. Between those who are really advanced, they have one. But many others, for all of them, the route is to a hard grind. You have to work. But then, remember that you have to fix your mind on a superior idea. So Krishna here says, Manmana mamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. So keep your mind on me. So always concentrate on me. Totally be devoted to me. In that sense, you work. Then you will not have any problem. You will not have any attachment. But if you think that, tells Arjuna, if you think that out of your egoism, if you think that I will not fight, no, your very nature will make you fight. Your very tendency, your very bones will make you fight, because that's your nature. So don't try to be egoistic and say that I will not do. If you, whatever, so finally he says, whatever I say you follow, but out of delusion, if you do not wish to, then in spite of yourself, you'll be doing all that. And then, out of of your own nature, you'll be participating, and then you will really be ending up in sorrow only. But on the other hand, if you're a willing participant and you do according to what the Lord says, that's why he says that Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Masu. So you Give up everything. Finally, completely be devoted to me. You surrender everything to me, and then you give up everything else and do as I tell you. Then you will be completely freed from all bondage, and you'll be liberated from every other sin and everything. You don't have to worry. That's what he says. So in this, there's also this. Of course, we'll see all that in great detail as we go forward. But then this idea, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja. What is the idea? Sri Krishna is asking him to give up all dharmas. Is he really asking him to give up dharmas in that sense? It's all your own wrong idea. Because now Arjuna has really not understood his own dharma properly. If only he had understood his swadharma properly, he would not have been resisting the tendency to fight. So, all kinds of the different misconceived ideas in the mind of Arjuna, which he thought are all dharma, which as a dharmic person he had to do. Krishna says, no, that's not the proper understanding of dharma. Whatever I have told you finally, if you completely surrender to me, I reveal to you what is the real dharma, what is to be done by you. So, he's not saying, asking him to become a adharmic person. No. Give up your wrong understanding of dharma. Whatever you have understood, all that has been proved to be a misunderstanding, a state of confusion of the mind. Give up all that. Completely accept or try to be in the way that I am trying to guide you. That will ultimately take you to what is the highest goal of life, namely spiritual evolution. So, Gita, although, it is given in the context of a huge war between two sets of brothers, but ultimately, Gita is, that's why, is considered a moksha shastra that gives you a way of redemption, a clear guidelines to spiritual evolution of life. Because ultimately, all of us, that is the duty of every individual, is to strive for a spiritual evolution. So Arjuna is only a representative of the human clan or the human class. So for all of us, in the place of all of us, Arjuna is talking to Sri Krishna. He is expressing his own problem. So all of us are fighting this Mahabharata happens in the house of every one of us, in the ashrama or in the house everywhere. Mahabharata is happening every day. Only thing is, instead of bow and arrow, there sometimes people fight with gun, sometimes people with words, sometimes people with hands and feet, etc. Or in terms of opinions. So constantly it's going on. It's a struggle. So how to live in this world? What is the right attitude? How can you get over all that? And finally find that peace that will make you completely calm, and not only that, that will make you realize who you are, what's your real nature. And then anything that you do, whatever performance you do, that is not going to really affect you at all, because you have clearly understood that you're an instrument of the Lord. So, in Sri Ramakrishna has that famous story that Ramericha. It is a person who is so completely rooted in the idea that he is functioning only according to the will of the Lord. भगवान की इच्छा उसी से मैं जो कर रहा हूँ वही कर रहा हूँ, और कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूँ. See whether, can you imagine otherwise, when the thieves asking him to carry all the loot, people would run there itself, they will resist, they will get beaten, they will do something. उनका कुछ भी नहीं है, राम ने भेजा, ठीक है, राम मेरी इच्छा से मैं कर रहा हूँ. It is the will of Rama. I am carrying all the stolen goods. Did he not know? ऐसी कोई चोरी चीज ले जा रहे हैं, उनका कोई पकड़ेगा तो मुश्किल है. He had no thought. मियाँ बैठा था आराम से, रात में नींद नहीं आ रहा था, आए उन लोग, सब मेरे ऊपर थोपा, बस ले गया मैं. He simply carried them, and when the police arrested, he had no fear. रामेर इच्छा से मैं अरेस्ट हुआ. लोग, he clearly told the judge, right? I was going, they put the things on my head, and by the will of Rama, the police came and arrested me. By will of Rama, I was in the prison. जेल में डाला, वो भी उनका कोई सोच नहीं है क्या 1 दिन होगा, 10 दिन होगा, 10 साल होगा, 15 साल की सजा मिलेगी, कुछ भी. He was not, simply not bothered, because he knows that everything is happening according to the will of the Lord only. Then they brought him. So रामरिचा आपके सामने आया, रामरिचा साहब मेरे को मुक्त कर दिया. He never said that, oh हुजूर आप इतनी कृपालु है, मेरे छोड़ दिया. He never said. By Ramaricha I was brought, by Ramaricha I was released. So, if a person can be completely like that, if one can understand every moment of life, we are functioning only by the will of the Lord. Imagine it's a very wonderful, it's not an easy thing. One has to do intense sadhana, practice, and only it's possible. But there is a way. Our That's why our scriptures, our sastras, etc., they all say that how it is possible to live such a life. So Sri Krishna in a very beautiful way through these 700 slokas. Not only, of course, this interaction is largely because again the author was more devotional by temperament, so he has concentrated more on the devotional aspect. But if you read Gita very carefully, it has for every type of aspirant, whether you belong to whether you are dedicated to the path of jnana or bhakti or yoga or karma, for all it gives a very wonderful explanation. Particularly, in this context, what it says about karma is very, very important because in some of the bhashyas of, say, Shankaracharya, etc., they have completely said that karma is to be given up if you have to get the ultimate knowledge or mukti. But if you read the Gita as said, it clearly says that through karma you reach the same place as you reach through jnana. What is that karma? That's what he's trying to explain. It's not ordinary karma where you do with desires or you do with any such motive, but absolutely if you do it in Nishkam way, then by that you really develop the Chitta Shuddhi or the inner purification, and in a purified heart, the ultimate knowledge or the ultimate the self or the Atman is revealed very spontaneously, and that is how you reach the supreme goal of life. We may continue. Probably we'll see, if possible, we'll try to see some other introduction by another great Swami. He was there in my Bangalore for some years, Swami Jagishanaji. I'm trying to get that also. Otherwise, we'll begin the Gita from chapter 1. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tatsat Shri Ramakrishna Namaste.